cat is back.
Hello and welcome to Video City, where there's no membership required, and obviously the master cylinder circuitry reacted adversely to the purity of the gold binding on the ancient book, therefore shorting out its system and all of the Duke cylinders and cubes which derive their power from the master cylinder. I'm Brent!
I'm Joe.
And I'm Travis.
And today we have a treat, at least as far as I'm concerned. It's my pick today. It is 1991/88
/92
/92's Felix the Cat, the movie. This one is formative for me, but before we kind of start going into it, fellas, have you ever seen this movie before?
I didn't know this was a thing.
Okay.
I remember Felix the Cat as a character, but I certainly didn't know there was a movie.
A movie revival?
Yeah, no, this was brand new. Shit, I forgot Felix existed. So you're like, oh, there's a movie we're going to watch.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Now, when you say I never knew this shit existed, do you mean just this movie or Felix
I
the
mean,
Cat?
Felix the Cat.
Was Felix the Cat not the cat on the wall clock?
You know,
They
I don't
look
know.
Strikingly similar.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Travis, because I'm ready to go into an 80-hour diatribe about Felix the Cat. I actually don't know if the clock cat is Felix. I don't think it is. But what is true about Felix is that Felix the Cat was the very first made-for-cartoons character, and kind of was the first like merchandising craze, like predated Mickey Mouse, predated Bugs Bunny. So there was a lot of Felix merchandise. I don't know if the clock cat is actually Felix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know the essence of, but I've known Felix. Obviously, there was a video game of Felix.
Yeah.
Which was surprisingly fun.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just being around, but I certainly didn't know this movie existed.
Yeah.
If there was a cartoon when we were little, I didn't watch it.
Me neither.
Was
I didn't
there?
even know that. Yes.
Oh,
So, well, no, yes, kind of. So
were we too young?
we're too young.
Okay.
So, because none of y'all have ever seen this, I'll pop in and give the background on this. So I actually found this movie because I played the Nintendo game Felix the Cat, which was super fun. Like you
Super
said.
fun.
Actually really good. That's what you learn about Felix, his magical bag of tricks. It turns into like a helicopter or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Fun little platformer.
Yeah.
Action-y game. I was, as a kid, not just with movie rentals, but also video game rentals. I had a Nintendo Entertainment System, boy, and I would play fucking anything.
Yep.
Especially if it had a cute little cartoon mascot on it. And Felix was one of those ones where it's like, oh, it actually turned out to be really good. So one weekend, I took a trip to Video City, my local video store, and I just went to the animation section. I saw Felix the Cat, the movie. I had just played the Nintendo game. I was on a visitation weekend to my dad because I am a child of divorce. And I was like, let's go, dude.
You
We're
were
gonna
the
watch
kid.
this. I was the kid. Yeah.
Ah.
I was that kid. You see the introduction episode, I think, for that reference. But yeah, like, I checked it out, and there are like 2 movies. And as a little background to myself, and I promise I won't go long here, to hit the fucking end credits. I always wanted to be, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an animator. I loved cartoons. I always have. I used to draw a lot and like cartoon a lot. Joe, you and I had a very, very brief, never saw the light of day, probably, thank God, little webcomic we were going to
I think
make.
it would have held up.
Maybe. All roads lead to Slayer is still a very funny gag. Anyway, I wanted to be a cartoonist, so I was always obsessed with animation and loved watching cartoons. And most of the time when you're a kid and you just rent a cartoon movie on the weekend, you're probably fine. There are 2 that were not okay and have probably shaped, for better and especially for worse, who I am today. One is Felix the Cat, the movie, which we're about to talk about. The other that I thought about requesting first, but I'm going to wait, is Ralph Bakshi's Wizards.
Another I haven't seen.
Oh, buddy. Can't wait. So stay tuned for that, listener. Anyway, so this was a movie that I was at my dad's house, and I would just get like a pile of rentals. You know, like Video City, you had like deals. It was like, you know, a weekend rental or a week-long rental. And I would just get like collections of old Looney Tunes or like movies or whatever. And one was Felix Cat the movie. And I remember watching it. My dad had gone to bed. I was sitting in the living room. It's pitch black. I'm just, sitting crisscross applesauce in the middle of the living room, the big TV in front of me, and I turned this on, and it fucked me up. In my head, in my memory, because I have never seen this again since that time. It's been probably about damn near 30 years since I've seen this movie. I have always remembered certain scenes, and we'll get to that. But I was like, I won't say I was like traumatized. That's a bit over dramatic, but like it stuck with me in a way that you would not expect Felix the Cat to stick with you. But that's why I had to go. When they were like, what is a video you remember renting from the video store when you were a kid? Felix the Cat, let's go. So just a little background, especially for now, Felix the Cat has not appeared in any media since I think about 15 years. The last bit of media that Felix was in was actually, I believe, a Japanese anime about baby Felix. Maybe there was like a slight thing after that, but if I remember correctly, because Felix was a very early character that kind of made impressions in Europe and across the world, like Japan apparently has a very big soft spot in their hearts for Felix the Cat. So they made this weird chibi Felix baby anime. I don't know. But Felix started in 1919, I believe. He was first called Master Tom. He was a tomcat in a cartoon, old cartoon, silent film cartoon. Would play obviously before a feature film in the silent
So someone just
Nickelodeons.
playing Joplin on the piano.
Yeah, just something like that. It's like, hey, Gads, cat, what are you doing? The words pop up and all that. Initially, Felix was drawn very much as like a normal cat. I could go into the creation and who made him. I don't want to get into all that because that'll go on way too long. But eventually, over time, Felix became more anthropomorphic. Would start walking, on his hind legs, and he would eventually get kind of the spaghetti noodle, classic cartoon legs that allowed him to move more freely and comically. The eyes got bigger, the head got rounder, and I would say it's probably in like the late 20s or so that the Felix that we kind of see in the movie took form. So Felix was a huge silent film era star. But then kind of right as that was going, you started to get talkies kind of coming in. The creators of Felix were very old heads in that way. They did not want to make Felix a talkie.
It's just a fad.
Yeah, it's just a fad. It'll go away. It didn't. Steamboat Willie and Walt Disney fucking exploded onto the scene with these, synchronized, made for sound cartoons. And then in the late 20s, Felix tried to do a revival where he was also a talking cat. They were very poorly received. Basically, the world was fucking over Felix at that point. And it kind of stagnated until I believe the 50s or 60s. There was a color Felix run. That's where you enter the bag of tricks. First, like initially, Felix was just a character. Then he would just kind of, respond to whatever's happening around him. No gimmicks. He was just the character of Felix. But later in the new color version, he got the magical bag of tricks. And he got his recurring friends / nemesis, Poindexter and the Professor, which are present in this movie. That's also where you came with the Felix theme song, The Wonderful, Wonderful Cat, which they whistle here nostalgically in the very opening of the movie, which I think is very funny because no fucking kid in 1988 is going to know what this fucking theme song is.
So Poindexter and the Professor. Mm-hmm. Again, I know Felix as an entity, as a character, but never there was a cartoon. I've never seen it. Those are like lifelong nemesis. You have Dork Boy and his grandpa.
I think the Professor is a nemesis. I think Poindexter is like a frenemy. Like maybe
because it seems like at the beginning, I got to steal that bag. I'm the bad guy. Yeah. But then they're hanging out.
Right. They're all fine by the end.
They're buddies.
So for me to research this movie, I played the Nintendo game because I'd never done any Felix anything. Mm-hmm. And it gives you like this brief cutscene at the beginning on the Nintendo game where it's just like Felix's nemesis, the Professor, is trying to get his bag of tricks.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, so maybe the Professor's always wanted the bag. But I watched a couple of old Felix cartoons from each iteration of Felix. And in the one that I saw, which dealt with Master Cylinder, who oddly enough is another dimensional. Yeah. Recurring character, recurring villain.
Really?
Yeah.
Cubes and cylinders.
The cubes are movies only, I think.
No, those are the most badass villains of all time.
Just the cube.
You create a world of creatures.
It's Cube. Was that like an old video? It's like an old Cube. Whatever. Never mind. But the cylinder was, so the one that I saw, it was like Felix is just hanging out with Poindexter. And then they're just chilling, but then Poindexter's like, oh, I got a distress signal from space and it's Master Cylinder. Felix is like, don't get Master Cylinder, he's evil. And then Poindexter knocks out Felix to bring back Master Cylinder, but like just because he wants to like study him or something, or like maybe he's like, it would be rude of me not to. So it's like they start off as friends.
You don't want to show up empty-handed.
Very weird. So yeah, that was like, that came around. They tried to bring Felix back as kind of like your normal, just, a Tom and Jerry or whatever. Like here's like a running, or maybe like a Hanna-Barbera kind of cartoon.
Yeah, sure.
Here's what your character you're making out of. Again, it didn't catch on. So what this was after the Felix, IP basically passed hands a few times. This was supposed to be a kind of the springboard for a new series.
Oh, he's coming back.
He's back,
big.
baby.
Yeah,
he's
this was supposed
back.
to launch the new one.
Yeah, this was like
And
Felix
that's
is
why
fucking
they
back.
sent it to Eastern Europe to get
Now,
it.
we don't know about all that. I think this is obviously some coked up fucking exec was like, fucking Felix, yeah, let's do it. It's a merchandise, yeah. Then they looked at the fucking budget sheet and were like, can you deal with like half of what I got you? And they're like, well, let's send this to fucking Slovenia or whatever that they can finish this animation.
Like, let's trade hands with this like 10 times.
Yeah, and
I don't mean to steal from Super Troopers, but it's Afghanistan animation.
yeah, it's damn near. It's real worker and parasite ex-Soviet bloc Simpsons ass kind of deal going here. Although I think you can kind of tell when it changed hands. And we'll get to that. I want to get to that as we kind of start talking about the movie. But there's no real cast to speak of here. The voice actors, the one who plays the Duke of Zill, who's the villain in Whack Lazardi and Pym, is a guy who did some Thundercats voices. He voiced Tigra, or I think it's Tigra, right? Or
Yeah.
Tigra?
I never watched
Tigra.
Thundercats.
I love Thundercats. I can't believe, I'm ashamed that I can't remember this. But and the voice of Felix was, I believe, a guy who mostly did radio. The voice of the princess is someone who is not credited for anything and has no Wikipedia page.
I looked that up. There was
surprising.
like there was multiple people for like either the voice of the princess or like the voice of something.
Really?
So you could tell that it was.
They're just swapping them out.
They were-
Princess had more than one
I
voice.
think so. Yeah. When I was looking up the cast, I believe the princess had more than one voice. At least the internet.
Yeah.
Why would a sign lie to a man?
It's impressive. Do you really think someone would do that? Go on the internet and tell lies?
I know. What?
Especially that specific, like, oh, I'm going to get them good.
Yeah, I got him on Princess
And
Oriana.
if they did, they got me.
Yeah,
Because I just spouted it out live on the
Fucking
internet.
owned, yeah.
And you can't lie on the internet.
that's
So-
true. It's against the
So
law.
now it's forever true.
Interpol's going to come. Internet police, not international police, are coming to get you.
Oh, that's really.
Well, it's impressive that if the Princess Oriana did have multiple actresses, that none of them could actually voice act. That's
Not well.
a real
Yeah,
impressive.
there's
thing.
never a picture associated with her name. On
you try voice acting when your lips don't move.
We'll get to that too, baby. Let's go. Okay, so that's kind of my just general background on Felix the Cat. There actually was, after this, years later, there was one more semi-successful Felix revival that kind of was a more fourth wall breaking, kind of like, think of the era of like Cartoon Network and like Angry Beavers on Nickelodeon, like that kind
Yeah.
of self-referential, kind of catty, sarcastic.
See, I think I might remember Felix from that era.
Yeah, I think-
But I had known
yeah.
it from before because I definitely remember the game.
And I think it's
video
the something adventure, like the misadventures of Felix the Cat or something like that. It had a name like that. That was semi-successful. And what I can see, people actually have, I think, some fond memories of that. I would like to check that. I have not been able to watch any of it. But I would actually like to check that one out a little bit more. But anyway, the story, the plot, as it were, of Felix the Cat, the movie, is in the far off, but not so far off, parallel dimension that has a planet called Oriana. I'm kind of unclear. Is the dimension Oriana?
It's weird because it's like there's a dimension that's Oriana, then there's the kingdom that's Oriana. But
And
if
the
you step
princess.
outside of the kingdom, you're suddenly in Zil.
You're in Zill, but
Well,
there's also the
no,
mind
Zill's
that's
the guy.
Oriana backwards.
No, but he's the Duke of Zil.
He's
Well,
the Duke of Zill.
But it's also called like the outskirts or something.
Yeah, so the outskirts of Oriana.
But they also refer to that land as Zil.
As-
What,
Zill?
it's what
Okay.
Joe would call the pores.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the poor trash.
When Joe is committing class warfare.
I myself am a poor, so it's okay.
It's okay that you do it. That's true. Okay. I never actually heard them refer to that as Zill, but okay. Because if he's the Duke of Zill, that must be a place.
Yeah, because they talk about it when Oriana, Princess Oriana, is talking about what happened when they do that throwback, and they're like, "Oh, he was Turns out Grumper is a bad guy. Well, Grumper was your uncle.
Now hold on. Spoilers, Travis. Fuck. Calm down.
This movie's 30 years old.
And no one has seen it, though.
No one's seen it, and we want to get to that. Okay? Hold on. So
let's all just settle.
The movie starts in the dimension of Oriana, in the Kingdom of Oriana, with the Princess Oriana. Which, like, this girl got to be special. So, actually, no, let me rewind that before I get ahead of myself. The movie starts with It's a Me, Felix, CGI 3D head
So
of
that
Felix.
was super early mocap.
What were they mocapping?
Just the head moving.
I had that note. So it was just some guy with...
Yeah, some guy just turning his head.
And literally, he's just, like, moving.
Yeah. I assumed that's what the movie was going to be. I was like, oh, shit, we're doing 3D now?
Yeah, in 1991.
We're doing 87 3D?
Yeah, no. When I read that was mocap, I was like, what the fuck did they mocap?
I also like that we say a different year for this movie every time.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So the background here is...
It took a while. It started in 85 is when they were originally going to...
Right.
And then it took until 91 until it got released in America. So
on video.
Yeah,
It
89.
It debuted in
premiered.
88 or 9.
89 at the third Los Angeles Animation Celebration.
There we go. And then for some reason it just floated
And they were like,
aimlessly. Well, this fucking stinks. Yeah. And then it landed on your home video
unfortunately,
shelves.
people watched it.
yeah, this isn't the 70s. People weren't taking mushrooms and acid like they were back. However, in Eastern European in 87...
So
apparently Eastern Europe in 87 was like the 70s of America.
Yeah, they're catching up still.
Yeah. That's what happens.
Yeah. So
We're still,
we get the It's a Me, Felix.
Yeah.
Because that's very Mario 64. Like that
100%.
exploding 3D head. Like, welcome to the future, motherfuckers. This is what you've always dreamed of.
It talks so awkwardly long.
This is the only time in the whole movie where Felix's mouth moves reliably with what he's saying. And the first thing he goes like, we've been through some amazing adventures together, haven't we? It's like, no fucking kid watching this knows what you're talking about. Why does this exist? Why don't they just get into the movie?
I honestly don't know, because it threw me off even more with that opening, because I was like, am I supposed to know stuff already?
No, I would expect not.
Is there continuity I have to follow?
The most recent show was like 20 years before this was made. I don't understand it. So, all right. We initially see Princess Oriana of the Kingdom of Oriana, of the Dimension of Oriana. She is also talking to Minister Grumper and
What
Pearl,
a sweet name.
the diviner. She's got cards. She's like a frumpy little lady with cards.
Little fortune teller.
She is the least fortune teller looking lady I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, she is not an oracle by any means.
No, she looks like she'd throw cats.
Yeah, she has 8 and she throws most.
Yes.
So we get automatically this Legend of Zelda, Wand of Gamelon, Philips CDI ass animation. It stinks.
It's so bad.
Folks, it's bad, okay? I didn't remember how bad it was. I kind of always remembered that the princess looked like shit. But what's weird about it, and what is a recurring frustration throughout the show, is that if it is a wider shot than a close-up of Oriana or really any character except Felix, it looks like fucking dog shit. Just awful animation. Their mouths don't move. They're like, you can tell they're mirror swapping.
Moving.
Shit, they're constantly moving forever. It's this old bad animation thing where either it is under animated or it is way over animated, where someone must always be moving like they're made of fucking water. Like they're just constantly fluctuating. You see this a lot in a lot of old animation, where it's like animation, I think, is 24 frames a second. So it's 24 and this is before the day.
Cells,
these are hand-drawn cells. Where I'm like, fucking Disney figured out you don't have to fucking do all. Just make the mouth move. Like,
No, that's too much.
they don't. They never do that.
We'll make their legs wiggle, their arms wiggle.
Yeah, but they'll like kind of just.
They're gonna be
constantly
jellyfish people the
float
whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
But mouths, no. That's too much.
But then when they cut into a close-up of the princess, and there's like a time in the future where she like, looks up, it's like this beautiful, like heavy metal ass, like American, like beautiful blonde girl, like looking up like, oh, what? And it's like every frame is detailed beautifully, and then it cuts back out, and she's
Just squiggly wiggly.
like Babby's first princess drawing, It's fucking awful. So at one point, they hear distress out in the outside. We hear about the Duke of Zill, who is our uncle, who is apparently trying to take over Oriana. And she looks at the window, and there's like weird plumes of smoke that are just kind of floating there, but they're like inside the building. Did anyone else notice this? Thoughts?
My thoughts
Put this
are
on and see. My question was
the backgrounds are beautifully
is
drawn.
for side characters. It happens with Pearl, happens with budget Yosemite Sam, happens with Grumper. What is the deal with short people, small head? Oh yeah, sure enough.
What's all
Fat
the
bodies
circles?
with the world's smallest shoes.
Yeah.
Tiniest feet.
There are people who are frighteningly short here for no reason.
Because the Duke of Zil has no tiny feet.
No, he's a big yoked dude.
Yeah, he's super yoked.
Oriana is
She looks regular.
a normal girl.
She is from 80s heavy metal. Somebody stole her. She
right.
should be painted on the side of
She
somebody's
should be riding a fucking pterodactyl holding a broadsword.
If you took that character and just erased a lot of the detail lines and just kind of shook it.
That's the basis, right? Like, yeah, she's like the etch-a-sketch ass, like
Yeah.
that version of the heavy metal chick, also fully clothed, but like not holding a sword or riding a dinosaur. But it's like, it kind of gives that vibe to you of like that
definitely that
era
vibe,
of
yeah.
animation, right?
Because I definitely had a heavy metal reference in my notes on this.
There you go. Is it now? Is it this?
It's definitely it's her.
Oh, it's her? Okay.
Yeah.
So then we see like when I talk about the Zelda animation, it is definitely Grumper.
The thing about this is the cylinders that they just cut to. They look so great.
Yeah.
Like they have great reflection, great shadowing. They're animated great. And then it goes back to these people that look like I drew them.
The backgrounds are fine and sometimes very good. The creature animations are mostly pretty good. Or like I would guess
very imaginative, very creative. They're
Anything-
all
Design is good.
different.
Anything robotic looks really
the
good.
robotic is always good. The backgrounds are good. I think at times Felix's animation actually looks really good.
When he's not wiggling.
And even sometimes when he is wiggling with purpose.
You know, when he's purposefully wiggling.
Purposely wiggling.
Not just like I'm in the background.
Right.
I'm a shimmy.
Not background wiggling. I'm a shimmy.
Yeah, Grumper's goofy eye, and Joe does a wonderful goofy eye. But like
it changes.
it goes from right eye, left eye, right
Yeah.
eye, left eye.
Yeah,
and then it just opens and closes.
They definitely to
Some of the
mimic
time.
talking, they'll make the mouth move one side to the other, but then they'll just mirror swap the fucking model.
Yep.
Dog shit. What's so frustrating about this cartoon, and this is like 90% of my aggravation with it, is that there's moments where I can kind of see what they were trying to do, and there's care put into it. And then I can absolutely tell where this scene was after the budget ran out, and we had to fucking
It's like they just ran out of time before they made the characters.
and have them fucking get rid of it, you know?
I mean, look at the ass on Grumper. The guy's got a dump truck.
Grumper
back
got
there.
a dumper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we see Duke of Zil, who we see is like, we have Mysterio at home. Mysterio, who also fucked Juggernaut, who also fucked Mr. Sinister.
Now, one thing, I love the disco light bots.
Yes.
They make no
cubes.
sense, but they're great.
Yeah, they rule. So the whole deal here is the walls are closing in on Oriana and the Kingdom of Oriana and the dimension of Oriana. The Duke of Zil has put him in a pickle.
Oh, no.
Hit the button. All right. So knowing that she's about to be captured, Oriana cries and somehow creates a sentient magical tear that floats off and talks like this, Oriana. And it floats off and goes through the Dimensporter.
Which, in case you're wondering,
She cries an R2D2 into existence.
That's true.
Dimensporter is short for dimensional transporter.
Yes. They never actually call it that.
But they do say Dimensporter 1,000
fucking times. I just have a note. Their mouths aren't even moving. Character models seem to change scene by scene for
I
the
have
human
no
characters.
mouth, and I talk fine.
Yeah, and I talk okay. The cylinders, I do note, are villains from the TV show. So This is weird where they historically just existed in our world. But that gets kind of weird too, and we'll fucking get to what our world knows and doesn't know. Let's move on. I put weirdly realistic drawings of the princess's face on close-ups. Looks like a 4-year-old drew her, if anything, is wider than that.
Accurate.
Yeah. So the tier is sentient, and we move forward. The cylinders and the cubes approach. Oriana will surely be killed. I'm guessing that Grumper is up to no good, but we don't have confirmation on that. We don't know. I mean, just because he's named Grumper, are you being fucking
And very
judgmental?
shifty all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that eye. I mean, that's
At least both of them.
So the
got
shittiest
that
psychic in the
evil
world,
eye.
Pearl, and Princess Oriana, they go down. There's like all these weird. This is like watch this sequence perfectly. Like that scene where she looks back is like perfectly fully realized of her looking like an actual person. This whole little sequence is just great.
the background right there of the caves. Amazing.
They're good. The background art is really wonderful pretty much all throughout. So they make it to this room. Apparently the Dimensporter here is like no big fucking deal. It's like old tech in this world. But they can't get it to work. It's all rusty and shit. They get captured right before they're about to activate it and jump their own selves into a different dimension. And this is where the magical tear is formed. The tear makes it to the Dimensporter, starts bouncing around on keys.
So yeah, she doesn't know the code to activate the Dimensporter, but the tear does.
The tear
R2D2 knows. R2D2, he knows.
R2D tier.
We'll work on it. We'll workshop it. All right. But it does throw the thing, and it makes it through the Dimensporter. We wake up on the island of Bikini Atoll, where the nuclear test fucking happens, where it's like actually the dimension opens and this fucking mushroom cloud goes off. Felix the cat is chilling on this island, unimpressed by the fact that the fucking the maw of space time just fucking opened up next to him.
And now the tear is ball lightning.
Yeah, the tear is lightning and also multicolored, and there's a dancing princess in it. And he's like, "Oh wow, cool." So it basically looks like a firefly to Felix. Now look, folks, this is like an hour and 15-minute long movie, and I could really like work through the finer points here. And on other movies, I will, but this is just a fucking movie where Felix goes into another dimension to eventually get reunited with the princess and just save the Kingdom of Oriana. Okay? If I went through what happens in a step-by-step, this would be way too much.
Oh, yeah.
So let me hit the big notes for you. Felix finds a way to the Dimensporter. He gets transported. While this is happening, the professor, his old nemesis slash friend Poindexter, nephew of the professor, who are trying to find his magic bag, start following him because they want that magic bag of tricks. Have I mentioned the magical bag of tricks? Felix has a little yellow bag with black X's that can turn into whatever the fuck he wants.
But only if he stares at it
yes,
and deeply.
Stare and make bedroom eyes.
Yeah, make eye lasers at it.
Yeah, and he shoots lasers out of his eyes. We can talk about how all it takes for apparently that to not work is someone to touch it, and then it just fucking stops.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's the shittiest superpower I've ever seen.
Just throw a rock at it, and it'll fall apart.
Yeah, at least 3 or 4 times in this movie, someone just touches it and ruins everything. So that happens. Meanwhile, Felix gets captured due to some bamboozling by a We Have Yosemite Sam at Home character called Pym, who lives outside of Oriana.
In that swampland.
Swamps.
We do have to talk about before we meet Pym. When he gets transported into the Dimensporter and he's trying to get out of the room, before he can actually exit the room, that's when the wall breaks and the water comes in because he's got the jackhammer. He turned his bag into a jackhammer.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm just giving the bird's eye view right now. So Felix is basically put into servitude in a circus. This is our second movie where people are basically turned into freak show attractions.
Yep.
Along with Princess Oriana, who dances. We'll get to that. And they figure out ways to break out. There's apparently a book that will stop the Duke of Zil. The book is dumb as fuck. We'll get to that in a bit. But essentially, it's just we get together, we escape the circus, we make it to the kingdom, the castle of Oriana, we overthrow Zil. That's the story. Okay.
Yeah, that's everything.
That's the big picture. Now, let's just, an amuse-bouche, if you will, just our samplings of scenes from this wacky fucking movie.
Well, before we get to that,
sure.
Let me set the scene a little bit for what else is going on in the world at this time.
Okay.
So,
yes, we forgot. What's going on in the world?
So this actually premiered in Los Angeles, as we talked about earlier, in January of 1989. Now, the number one movie that actually people remember and made money was Rain Man.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Best
number
Picture winner? Did it win Best Picture?
I don't know. It should have.
Yeah, it should have.
Now, the number one song on the mainstreams was Phil Collins' Two Hearts, which is from the film Buster.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a 2 houses.
And it was composed by Lamont Dozier of Motown's Dozier Holland.
Oh, hell yeah.
Now, the number one song on the alternative charts was Stand by R.E.M., later known as Spam by Weird Al.
I don't remember that song at all.
Stand in the place where you work.
Oh, stand in the place. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Not the best song.
It's not their best, yeah.
And since this is a premiere, not an actual movie night, it's Thursday, and tonight on an all-new episode of Dynasty, Crystal's operation is unsuccessful as she slips into a coma. Told she will probably never recover, a grieving Blake returns to Denver. Sammy Joe is attacked by an unknown assailant. Dex discovers Joanna is a link to Alex's controller, Heath. Fallon gives in to Zarelli's persistent charm and ends up under his sheets.
No, not Zarelli.
Zarelli of all people.
Of all people.
And on January 10th, the LA Kings center Wayne Gretzky becomes NHL's all-time leading scorer in combined regular season and playoff points.
Wow.
That may be beat in the next year or two by Alex Ovechkin.
Hey, sports.
Throwing a little hockey news at
But it wasn't yet, and I don't know who that is.
No, that's fine.
It's good that you know that.
Yeah.
Now, January 13th, British comedy sketch show A Bit of Fry and Laurie, starring Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie of House.
House. And
Debuts
many other
on
things.
BBC One, but of House.
He was in that Sahara movie with McConaughey where they landed a plane.
He was on House.
He was on House. He was House MD.
He does one of the best American accents.
Garbage President Ronald Reagan pardons Yankees garbage owner George Steinbrenner for obstruction of justice and conspiracy to make illegal contributions to Garbage Nixon's reelection campaign.
Oh, cool.
So it sounds like a real just trash pile.
And to carry on the tradition, on January 25th, Michael Jordan scores his 10,000th NBA point in his 5th season.
God damn. That's actually really... Hey, it turns out this Michael Jordan guy might be really good at basketball.
He's onto something.
He's on it.
I wonder if he's thought of other sports.
He might be something one day.
Maybe.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Okay. Thank you, Joe. I'm sorry I completely botched our fucking structure of this podcast.
Hey, you know
in
what?
3 episodes.
You were really excited. I was letting you go.
Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, this one I was ready to go.
This one's in your heart.
It's in my heart. This one has a good place. Okay, so that's kind of giving the background of the world at the time and the overall part of the story to keep myself from not reading of the 7 pages that we fucking have. Let's talk about let's hit the high points. First off, I totally forgot that this is a quote unquote musical adventure. There's like 3 songs. They all fucking stink in normal, but once you speed one up, it becomes a fucking bop.
Apparently, Huey Lewis in the News didn't know that they wrote one of these songs.
Right.
But when you take the Duke of Zill and you bump it up to 1.5 speed, it is a goddamn Huey Lewis banger.
I want to leave a space here that if we can insert this into the episode, we definitely have to do it. So here is the Huey Lewis and the News version of the Duke of Zill.
I think you could play like 8 seconds, right? Before it's...
Yeah. You can get that. You can get a little bit
If
without
we
copyright.
If we crank it 1.5, we'll be fine.
I'll give a sprinkle.
There we go. All right, cool. Wasn't that a great hit? Okay, there was also a song about foxes for some reason, and I think there was one more that I don't fucking remember.
They were the least memorable songs except Duke of Zill.
Yeah, the Duke of Zill was good. And so basically, now I think what you were going to get at, Travis, was when Felix is first making his way to the Demins border. They go into a mine called
It's Oriana backwards.
It's Oriana backwards. Yeah, it seems vaguely Spanish named. I was like, oh, kind of cool. And it's just Oriana backwards. And Felix goes in a room where like water begins to come in, and walk us through this scene.
So he's in the room with the Demensporter where the cylinders have now blocked it back in. So he gets his nice magic bag, tries to make a jackhammer out of it so he can bust through the wall. Well, his magic bag is always playing tricks on him, so it kind of goes wild. It's got a mind of its own. And then instead of going through the brick wall, it just tears right through a sheet metal wall. Well, turns out they're underground. Here comes all the water.
Mm-hmm. They're next to an aquifer.
So now you get to see all the creativity and all the different wild, imaginative fish that are showing up coming through. And the fish are kind of coming. You have something that is just frogs' legs with eyes that are where the butts are.
Yeah.
They're just cruising along. Mm-hmm. And then you get these 5 titty fish. I don't know what else to call them, but
I say the fish do have titties. That's
5 buxom fish that now have decided they're going to dance with each other and jerk each other's tails just to make their own titties bounce.
Yes.
But it's not like they're jerking their partner's tails,
right.
Who's jerking their other partner's tails.
It's mutual fish masturbation.
So this is 3 movies in a row that involve us talking about jerking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Just
you wait. I'm sure it'll come up every single movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is literally what's happening.
Yeah.
They start grabbing each other's tails and they're doing like you're milking an udder, like just that kind of motion. And every time that happens, these fish who have breasts, the breasts move up like toward their chin.
And they stay on these titty fish for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, little kids,
so
want to see these boobies bounce?
So Felix, at this point, is upside down in the water. The fish actually use their buoyant boobies to right Felix back up. They kind of are tugging their tails, and they start to turn him with the power of their buoyant boobs.
I must have been so zoned out during this whole scene.
Oh, probably.
I don't.
You were about 10 minutes in at this point, so.
Two quick notes on this before. While Felix is making his way down, for no fucking reason, he just decides to mock a corpse. He sees a skull and is like, ha ha ha, what a fucking idiot. Like, he's like, laughs. And then the skull like comes alive and bites him. No fucking attention is paid to this. But Felix just starts mocking a dead guy in a mine. This person probably died tragically.
Felix is kind of a prick.
He's a fucking prick. And this is a running deal in the movie where he'll just make weird, laughy comments that mean nothing, like in the background sometimes. It fucking stinks. This movie's horrible. But he's like, ha ha, hoo, hoo. Like he just, it's so fucking corny, but he just mocks a skull. I was like, that is the most insensitive shit that I've ever seen. At one point in this, Felix gets frustrated about getting out. He does a walk, and I just want to point this out historically for Felix. He looks furtive. He kind of like furrows his brow, puts his hands behind his back, and begins to kind of pace. This is like the iconic Felix walk from the old animation. Just something about him walking that way was the thing that always happened. And there's actually an old song made called Felix Kept on Walking, basically about that animation thing. This is how bored people used to be in the fucking 20s. But so that's a little shout out to the real old Felix heads who might be watching this. He does the walk. So that's the only thing there. So Felix does get out. He washes up in this swampland outside of the Kingdom of Oriana. And this is where he meets Yosemite Sam at home, Pym.
Littlefoot Pym.
Yeah.
The most predictable character ever.
Who is just like
He's just your standard gold miner.
Yep, just like, howdy, y'all. Like, you know, this is just like, this here's a Yukon Trail. Like that kind of guy. Big old hat. He's probably 2 feet tall. Felix is much taller than him for some fucking reason. Yeah. And throughout this, they kind of make cute and friendly. He's like, hey, cool. Welcome. And he kind of gives you a hint. He might be looking at the magic bag. Although you don't know why he knows that the bag is magic, except Felix was wearing a scuba gear when it first happened.
Yeah.
Then it turns back into the bag. Pym knows sells
keeping
this,
an eye on it.
But then he's like, that magic bag of tricks might come in handy. And you're like, what? Is he bad?
How'd you know what I called it?
Yeah, exactly. How the fuck do you know this?
So one thing I got to point out that I actually liked about it so far, every level felt like it was designed to be turned into a Nintendo game.
Yes.
Or not every level, but every scene is a level.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Like even the swamp scene has platforming in it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I just thought that was smart, but they didn't actually make it into a game.
So there are these weird, and the creature design here is actually really kind of cool and creative.
Yeah.
There are these like little bubble berry grape things that also eat people.
It's like, Venus flytrap, but a sticky bubble.
Or they're like an Octorok from Zelda, like kind of like a little bubbly thing with a thing that'll suck them up. Or like a Metroid.
Like a Metroid.
But they're on like a little... He shows them a tree and they're on like a cord and he's like, watch out, they'll eat you. He makes some fucking joke about, there's so many shitty one-liners that make no sense from Felix. Where it's like, you thought that was ridiculous. It's like this whole, there's one or two I have written down and we'll get to that. Felix mentions that he's looking for the princess because he heard her voice and saw her form in the tier. And he says she had beautiful eyes like a cat.
Like a cat.
Yeah.
She does not have cat-like eyes at all.
And Pam
To be
goes,
fair, neither does
like
he.
yours?
He doesn't either, I guess.
Yeah, he doesn't have
They're
cat
not
eyes.
slits.
No, they're just big.
There's big eyes. But her eyes aren't even that big. They're like normal human eyes.
I wonder, I'd have to go back and look in the first scene. Does she have like, like the Cleopatra eye makeup on where
They did
she's
not.
got
Oh,
the cat eye?
No.
They did
she
not
does
animate makeup.
No, absolutely. That would be way too much inking and coloring. There is a scene here where for some
Maybe
reason...
somebody thought about it.
We are lucky she had eyes.
Maybe they wrote it first and they were like,
Yeah, we are. I am
like,
especially.
you were supposed to put cat eye makeup. And like, it's done already. We're getting out of here.
So there is a scene here where it just cuts to Felix like laughing for some reason. And there's no fucking rhyme or reason to it. There's just these weird... I don't know. I don't even know how to fucking explain it. So
This movie's so weird.
anyway, they're going through this. Him at first is kind of seeming good. But then they find these little hungry bubbles. And if you get trapped inside one, it's hard to get out. So Felix is about to jump across this little pond. Pym just fucking checks him. Is like, boom, shit,
Not so fast, nerd.
bitch. And just fucking spikes him into the fucking swamp where he gets absorbed by a bubble. Pym, who always keeps that thing on him, just takes out a fucking shotgun, shoots the tether connected to this thing. So now Felix is essentially caught in like a movable prison. And he calls on, he didn't even call on. At this point, we don't even know if this is just, if he just had to break Felix to try to save him, but all of a sudden the cylinders kind of approach. And what they say is bring him to whack. which we'll get to. But when I first listened to it, it's only they said bring him to WAP, which I thought was wet ass pussy. I did not know, because I was like, no, the Duke's name is Zill. Who are they fucking talking about? And I was like, oh, it's Whack Lazardi, which we learned later. But it sounded like WAP to me. Anyway,
moving on.
So we cut back to the professor and Poindexter. They're in the mine that Felix went down before. Poindexter just starts talking about knowledge about what Oriana is. Like, they're like, oh, yes, it's like another dimension.
Oh, I heard about it as a cryptozoologist. Once said Oriana was...
Oh, there was a book that I read one time, Uncle.
And it's like, oh, so they just fucking know about this? And they know about the Dimensporter? Like, it's no fucking big deal to these dipshits.
Yeah.
They can
This is just Thursday for them.
Yeah, but you saw their telescope that they had at the beginning. Their big, giant telescope that was 100 times their size, and they're on goofy little chairs. I still don't understand that relationship. It's sus. I don't like it.
The professor immediately wants to give up, which is fucking relatable.
Yeah.
He's just like me for real.
Like, this is a lot.
And he's like, he got away. Fuck this. I want to go home.
Like, it's like,
it's getting close to dinner.
What about the name? It said goal, or it said,
Yeah, it's like...
It used to be a gold mine.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about that, at least at first. We get to that. There's like a little payoff at the end there. So Poindexter immediately understands fucking interdimensional travel. He breaks out his, what I assume is an Autobot that he's like made an indentured servant that's like this weird walkie fucking...
Yeah, the one wheel in the front and two creepy
it just
legs.
turns in and they're like, have you driven that? He's like, I just made it today. And it's like, okay, I get your whole fucking gimmick. So then we cut back to Felix. Felix has crossed over into the movie Freaked because he's in this fucking circus with a bunch of weird fucking...
just
weird.
weird.
But the audience is the freaks. This time.
Yeah.
Wow.
The talent are just normal animals that they've stolen from Earth.
You assume, or another, parallel.
Well, I mean, yeah, Felix is Earth.
But we also get a sense of the economy of Zill in this scene through their bartering system to get the tickets.
That's a little later, but yes, we do get into that.
Oh,
yeah.
true.
Because it's like flies or something that supports the war effort.
Yeah.
Or a wrench,
Or a wrench, it turns out. But we'll get to that. So now we see the, I guess, secondary villain of the movie, which is Whack Lazardi. Which, what a fucking name, first off. And I had completely forgotten about the character of Whack Lazardi. Except if you've ever, watched any the Jimquisition, which is like a video review thing, James Stephanie Sterling hosts it. Anyway, they will put in footage, like they'll talk about video games and occasionally usually when they're talking about a greedy CEO, I realize it's usually Whack Lazardi is the person that they do to represent that. Totally had forgotten. And I'm like, oh, someone else has seen this movie, which would have been nice to know. But Whack Lazardi, the voice actor, Peter Newman, also voices the Duke of Zill and also voices Pym.
And we do know that Whack Lazardi is clearly from New York. He has a very heavy New York accent.
Absolutely, like real fucking New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just this is the second movie we have with a carnival barker fucking ringleader type guy. Lazardi has a wand that also looks like his son.
Yeah.
That is, and I called it Salacious Crumb at home. Like, it's like a little, it just makes like weird noises and bites things, and it's got a pointy nose like he does.
It's like those toys when we were young where it had the little, like, the trigger gimmick on the bottom.
It was
and
like
the
a
top
dinosaur
was like,
head.
It's like a little, like a little reacher dinosaur head.
We're doing great physical description with our hands.
Dear listener, if you could see this, you'd be like popping like, I know that.
If you can hear our hands, you know it.
Haha, I did that. Yeah, you'll know exactly what that is. Is the Pin Whack's son? Because they kind of look like a similar species. They both have like the weird, like kind of
the crinkly
weird nose, the crinkly nose, and the hair tuft.
I have no idea, but it would check out.
Enslave his own son to be his wand is what I'm asking.
He's Whack Lazardi. He totally would. Mm-hmm. He enslaves everything
That's
else.
Whack Lazardi.
And the button.
All right, and we're back. So at this point, Felix is just kind of tossed into a fucking cell. Like, you are a prisoner, but also a circus performer. We cut back to Poindexter. He and the professor are floating in like a little river. There is a weird, kind of cool looking dinosaur creature coming after him. And Poindexter breaks out what is, I understand now, a handheld camcorder, but I thought he also kept that thing on him because it has a cap on it at first. So it looks like he just pulls out a fucking pistol. I'm like, he's about to fucking aerate this motherfucker. And he's like, I'm going to take a picture of it. Wow. And I think he gives it a genus and species.
Yeah. And then
how the fuck does he know what this is? This is another dimension.
Then he shrinks it.
Yeah.
Throws it a lifesaver. He's like, it's temporary.
Yeah. And, no need to be overly hostile. Right. I appreciate that.
He's a real scientist.
And then the thing is friendly when they're leaving.
But it does wiggle its bell ass, and it has a bell tied to its tail for some reason.
True.
Not explained.
Not explained.
And it kind of like...
And after it's very angry at them, once it shrinks them and it gets finally on the life raft, it just waves to them.
Yeah, it does wave, but then it wiggles its butt, right? Yeah. And afterwards?
I want to kill you, but I realize I'm 10 times less the size.
I got owned. He took the L.
Yeah, he did.
Enjoy my bell.
Yeah, I took the L. Enjoy the bell.
Yep.
There we go. Put that on a t-shirt. So they are making their way toward Felix. The professor is still just like, he's just bummed out, but I guess he's all along for the ride. But Poindexter drives ahead. So we come back to Felix talking with Wack Lazardi about basically what he's going to do and how he's going to perform. Felix wants to see the princess. I want to make it clear right here. This movie is way too open about how horny Felix is for the princess.
Very.
Everyone owns him for this. They're basically like, you want to fuck the princess. Like, you're a little cat guy and you're hot for the princess. Like, you have a little boner for her. And he's just like, oh, gosh, I have to save her. And it's like, it's always mentioned. They're always like, yeah, she's really fucking beautiful. We get into how they like, it gets into some weird voyeuristic bullshit here in a little bit. Well, we'll get to that. So in the initial conversation, the whole time this is going on, Pym is in the background sitting on top of a cylinder. And it's just kind of bouncing. And Pym is just like, he's like kind of like walking on top of it, but he's like, he's just, there's no reason why he should be doing this on top of this fucking.
Maybe he's just trying to stay fit.
He's just excited.
Maybe so. So Felix, while he's having this kind of confrontation with Wack, he has the one good idea, which is turn the fucking bag into a weapon.
Yeah,
and he turns it into a short sword, but then does fucking nothing with it. Because you know why? The fucking pin bites the fucking thing and it turns back into a bag. This shit sucks. What is this power?
This bag is the worst bag ever.
It is a really bad thing. So basically, Felix's ass gets tossed back in prison again. He's fucking owned. He gets shit on by Wack Lazardi. We stand Wack Lazardi. Then he looks under the bed and we are introduced to the lizards?
The Mizzards.
Nice. Mizzards.
These are my favorite characters in the whole movie.
Really?
Yeah, I like the Mizzards.
They really serve no purpose, but they do get there's a great thing with them later. They are just kind of like the most cartoon ass little characters. Like they would have a side split off series where they just do adventures. There's a blue one and there's a pink one. Otherwise, I assume that's a gender signifier. There's no other way of differentiating it. They look exactly the same. Their voices are both just very stylized cartoon voices. No difference. So he watches them perform, and now it's time for the show. The Mizzards are just like chilling out under his bed. They're cellmates basically. So we cut to the cat band. Now, Felix is a cat. Okay, these are also cats. These cats look more like real cats than Felix does.
The band looks
100%.
like cats.
These are like Tom.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of are like Heathcliff. Man, a little longer.
These ones you wouldn't expect them to speak.
Right.
Because
they don't.
Because Felix is the only speaking.
Which they talk about, which I was like, wait, what? There's cats right there. They don't speak, but it turns out they don't speak. They are not playing their own instruments. It is obviously overdubbed, and I think that's really fucking lazy of the cat band to not play their own instruments.
Well, I mean, they didn't have amps.
They did not have amps, and one of them is like fucking underneath the bass strings of one of them. That would hurt. They're very taut. This cat is not cut.
I mean, they just don't know what they're doing.
This is just an unbelievable fucking scene.
I will say, that song, having watched this through at 1.5 on the way through, I then went back once I realized it, and I put it back at 1, and I was like, oh, this song is trash.
Yeah, it's bad.
But that's the highlight of the movie.
The intro hits hard. The intro is like Doom.
I know.
Yeah, it seems like you're about to start the fucking Doom level.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this rules.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's like just DuckTales music.
It just falls apart.
Not great.
Yeah.
I think that song is the highlight of the movie for me.
That one specifically, the cat band?
When they do Who's the Boss?
Oh, that's what it is. It is Who's the Boss. Yeah, that's right.
Well,
that is their
only
song.
at that when you guys have already heard it by now.
Yeah.
But I think that's my favorite part of it.
Can we plug it in again? Okay, yeah, great.
Let's plug it in again. A couple more seconds.
There's a time for love and a time for living. Take a chance and face the wind.
Okay, there it is. All right, great. So
I hate you guys.
I hope he doesn't put it in. And there's just moments of silence here.
There's just going to be weird sounds.
Yeah, just no one knows. I don't know. It's just like, whatever. Anyway, I couldn't think of anything funny off the top of my head because I suck. Anyway, as they're playing this, there's a random fade, like crossfade of the princess weeping for some reason, which I was like, okay, you got to make it heavy for some fucking reason. Then we're done. Now, while this is going on, Felix is waiting to go on, and we see some flyers that show the princess. It's like every day extended or prolonged is what it says. Like Princess Oriana, every day prolonged. Which I was like, is that the name of her zine? Like, what is this? Do they mention before this point that she is a performer? Does Whack? Okay, so it's just weird they have these fucking flyers. We find out that the Duke of Zil has made his niece an indentured servant in Whack Lizardi's circus, and now she must dance.
She must bubble dance.
So his great plan to get her to give up the Book of Ultimate Power is to make her dance nightly at a circus.
It's to humiliate her. Now, the whole time, so we get, now this is one of my first memories. Oh, wait, she's not on quite yet because Felix goes first.
Yeah, Felix goes first.
This is where we learn she's
like,
an attraction.
He's like, Whack, I just want to watch the princess.
So next up is the Mizzards are actually performers, and they do a little tap dance routine. They're fucking tiny, and half the time there's no spotlight on them, so I'm sure this crowd of fucking weird mutant other dimensional freaks can't see them. But they do a decent little gig. They're fine for what it is. And I think the crowd kind of likes them, actually. No, they hate it. They like it at first, but then they begin to turn on the Mizzards. And it's very unfortunate because I thought they gave it their all. They make tap dance noises, but they have no shoes. It must be their disgusting toenails. That's what I had to surmise from it. This was an easy way of burning 2 minutes of runtime where they basically loop tap dancing animation in different, frames.
This movie, even at 1.5 speed, has parts that drag on.
Oh, yeah.
For so goddamn long.
This movie could have been 30 minutes.
Easily.
Easy.
And I never even thought to watch these at 1.5 speed.
I'm sorry.
This was the first one I did. I was like, I watched it last night and I had to watch it again this morning because I was like, this is fucking bananas.
My favorite thing is a little insight here, a little inside baseball, is my joy was before. This was the last movie that I watched, and the only movie that I watched of our first four at regular speed because I was like, this is mine and I have to watch it. I deserve this, for better or for worse. But I was asking Joe and Travis, is it as fucking weird as I remember it? And they're like, yes.
Oh,
it's a
100%.
It is a fever dream. So I'm happy to hear that. So this is where Felix finds the flyer advertising Prince Oriana. He gets some jerk bank material because he grabs that. But then it is immediately grabbed by one of the cylinders who's like, you do not get to be horny for the princess. The only person who stops him from being too horny for the princess and doesn't mock him for it. They tear up the flyer. Then Felix is sent out there. The cat band shows no racial solidarity. They do not attempt to save Felix. They just let him embarrass himself and be paraded out.
Well, Felix gets his revenge.
There
later.
could have been an uprising right this moment. Like, cats of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains.
Thundercats ho.
Thundercats ho, right? Thundercats comma ho, alternatively. So Felix, instead of doing anything fucking cool, just decides to make it open mic night. Cut in Brandy Rhodes saying, who told you it was open mic night, bitch? Because that's what this is. And we get, unexpectedly, the fucking problematic gay joke in the middle of Felix the Cat, the movie.
It caught me so off guard.
It has to be that, right?
Yeah, that's the only thing it can be.
I haven't seen this much fruit salad since I was in California. What? Surely there's no other reading of this, right?
I don't know how you could.
Yeah.
What the fuck? It came out of... I obviously not remember that one. Comes out of fucking nowhere.
I was shook.
So Felix the Cat, officially, you're fucking canceled. Get the fuck out of here.
Thank you.
All right. Long time coming. So Felix, at this point, after his fucking shitty comedy bombs, as deservedly so, also, real quick side note. Speaking of his jokes, the studio that originally made Felix the Cat, do you know what they were most known for before they made Felix?
No, I do not.
They made a cartoon version of Sambo.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Oh.
Anyway, moving on. So maybe this helps us understand why Felix might have some certain ideas. Anyway, so Felix, at this point, he has the magical bag of tricks given to him for his performance. Now, this is a stupid move by Whack Lizardi. But Felix is fucking already Stockholm Syndrome. He already is like institutionalized. He does not turn this into a, I don't know, helicopter or a fucking automatic rifle and just like get free. No, he turns it into a fucking skateboard and he just eats shit and like can't skateboard worth a fuck. And I had a hard time going, is he bad at doing this or did the bag like turn against him in this moment?
Yeah, because he goes from the skateboard to the 40-wheel unicycle.
Yeah. Then it like stacks up. He makes himself a fucking fool. Then finally, it turns into a fucking cannon. And I'm like, let's fucking go.
Not
baby.
before it turns into a vacuum cleaner and sucks him
That's
up.
true. It sucks him. It self-sucks
into the bag.
Felix into the bag. And then it turns into a cannon, which I'm like, oh, is Felix the ball? No, he's simply riding it. Yeehaw. But he does not kill anyone. He just uses it to instill fear into the cat band. And then just pops out. He's like, oh, wow. And then basically that's the show. So Felix is kind of successful in this really shitty little show. He goes back. Whack Lazardi's like, yeah, great job, kid. Yeah. And he just mocks him for wanting to fuck the princess again. But so then we finally see what happened to Princess Oriana. She is trapped in a bubble.
Yeah, of course.
As one would.
As you do. And dude, I wish this was visual on this because like the dance that she's doing, she's just like flailing her. It's worse on the second one, but there's no dance here. She's just kind of twirling around and you hear this like mental thing of she's like, I hope that this will pay my debt or something that like my uncle will take pity on
Or
me.
like Dave Matthews white girl dancing.
Yeah.
Is gonna
she is
pay her
absolutely at fucking the shittiest like jam band. Fucking
Yep.
she is on mushrooms.
She is picking the flowers.
Yeah, she's like, oh, like, do you ever like feel music though? Like that's what she's doing. And then all of a sudden she's like, boom, smash cut. Meanwhile, back in the Kingdom of Oriana, like out of nowhere, 2 seconds into her dance, we see Pearl and she's watching this because they're simulcasting this live in the kingdom or in the castle. And Pearl's like, oh, Oriana. And I can't tell if she's sad or horny because everyone's horny for the princess.
Apparently.
And then Mysterio, her uncle, is also like, he's like a humiliation
into it.
fetishist. He's like, look how fucking sad she is. And he's like farting out of his neck. Like he's like letting gas go out of his weird
This when he's
Mysterio
vaping
deal.
his cylinder buddy's farts?
I don't know if he's vaping at this point, but he's definitely exerting gas.
No, vaping is towards the end.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the second dance number
Yeah.
that he's watching her. That's
He's
when he's vaping
Puffing
farts.
out of his buddy into his neck.
So he's like, basically, like, I will break her by making her dance. Like you said earlier, this is his grand plot, is he sold her to the circus, but he watches it every time. He's like, because they're like, are you really watching this? Do we have to watch this every time? He's like, abso-fucking-lutely we do. So he's got a half chub going, and he's like, humiliation. We cut back to Oriana dancing, and she's like, perhaps if I keep dancing, the Duke will show mercy on my people. So at this point, Princess Oriana is confirmed a liberal because she thinks trying to negotiate with a fucking fascist will work out for her. And there's my one political joke of the time. We move on.
I am dying over here.
We end the show. Felix is like, oh, thank you for letting me watch the princess dance. And Whack, again, is just like absolutely owning him for being horny for the princess. They won't stop. He decides to trying to get out. And Whack is like, no one can make it out of this area because then you'll hit the outskirts or whatever the fuck it's called. There is a name for it. I don't think it's the outskirts. It's something like that.
Yeah.
I don't care to go back and find out, but he goes, wait, was that the swamp? And then Pim is like, no, the swamp is the edge of the outskirts. So the outskirts is even worse. But then I'm wondering, so are all the people watching this shit, like they're all also captives in the same, like none of them can leave? They just live around this fucking circus?
No, they live there because that's when the Duke showed up that one time and he was like, they go back, they do the backstory later and he's like, no, and they're like, oh shit, this dude's a god.
Yeah, these are my people.
So they're just like, no, we're here. Hey, look, he built us a circus.
Yeah.
And we get to
So
see,
it's literally like bread and circuses, you know? So now it's anti-communist. Okay, anyway, moving on. Yeah, so this is where Whack Lazardi looks at Felix and goes like, you can watch her, I'll let you, which is the most just fucking dirty. Like, I'm like, this is getting like 8mm. This is bad. You know, it's getting really uncomfortable.
Like, we've reached a new level here.
We've reached a new level. Now, at this point, we understand, again, that every movie in this era is made about pollution because they talk about, like, how bad everything is around, like, the, you know.
Oh, yeah.
That we see Poindexter and the professor in this city where they're, like, talking about, like, oh, they've actually adapted. They keep the smoke in their houses. Like, and Poindexter's talking about how the pollution has, like, changed everything. Mocking the cycle of poverty and the plight of Oriana's inner cities. And then also you see like a drunk inner city Oriana
drinking that blue juice,
drinking that blue booze, and then eating glass.
Just chomp the bottle down when it was done.
So,
the one that's like in the puddle.
yeah. They fucking like spike this dude, this poor drunkard
into
alien
a puddle of blue liquor.
Yeah,
and then he's like, "I'm not giving this shit up."
Just fucking like dips it up, like bottom lip. Pulls it up and just
starts just munching it,
and then eats the fucking glass.
That's a true sign of a good alcoholic.
That is
you have enough mouth strength to just tip the bottle up yourself without using any hands.
No hands.
I'm face down on the ground. You think that's gonna stop me? Chop my arms off, baby.
You think this is rock bottom? You think this is rock bottom? Motherfucker, I'm eating the glass.
I just paid to watch a bubble woman dance.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's still horned up. He's like got to get the feeling going. So very culturally insensitive by
drunks.
Yeah, the whole
Poindexter
movie
and the professor. So then we cut back to Felix. So the professor and Poindexter are zoning in on Felix. We cut back to Felix. He's back in his cell with the wizards or mizzards.
The mizzards.
Mizzards, mice wizards.
Mice lizards.
Mice lizards. Mice wizards? They're kind of wizards.
They're magical.
And clap. Okay, and cut that. No, back with the mizzards. For some reason, they served Felix cheese with a fucking glass top on it.
Yeah, like cheese and a slice of bread.
Yeah, a cat, of course. A slice of bread and cheese. What cats love. Right?
Right.
That's more of a dog treat than a cat treat.
Any cat owner can tell you they always crave Swiss cheese and dry bread.
I thought that was some chanvre.
Didn't it have holes in it?
Some chanvre? No, I just wanted to say that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was Swiss cheese. Classic cartoon. The classic cartoon.
It was cartoon
It's the
cheese.
easiest way to animate cheese.
Yeah,
You put holes in
it's got holes in it. It's Swiss. We get it as cheese.
Oh no, it's
Otherwise you have to make a wheel.
Gruyere?
Right. Yeah. Even it's a wheel of Edam.
Cheese.
So the Mizzards are talking.
Machismo.
They're trying to sneak open the cheese because obviously it's better for fucking them to have it than Felix.
Yeah.
And somehow they have a fork.
They have a fork. Where'd they get it? Who the fuck knows? But we do find out they can smuggle things because they have the wall system.
Because they can chew through steel.
We'll get to that. We'll fucking get to that. So Felix wakes up and catches them, and they immediately accept death.
Oh,
and they're like,
without
"Eat us.
hesitation. They're like,
Eat us, release us from this hell. You know? Yeah. This is where.
I love the mizzards.
So there's the pink mizzard and the blue mizzard. The pink mizzard starts talking. While that line is still going on, they cut to the blue mizzard saying the same line to finish it. Then Felix says, "Oh, I'm an asshole," whatever the fuck he says. Then it cuts to the pink mizzard, who now says a new line with a new voice. Because one's like, whatever, and then was like, this one has a little bit of, like, it has a little, sauce to its voice. Fucking terrible. What are we doing here? No one's even trying anymore. Now, then they go, Felix goes, "How the fuck did you get in here? How do you get out of here?" And they go, "We get through holes." And they show their perfectly mizzard-shaped holes in the wall. Now, Felix goes, "Can you make me a hole out of here?" And they go, "We can't do that because the outer walls are made of steel." Now,
what did y'all just chew through?
yeah, when they cut to the fucking image of what they chewed through, there's fucking bolts in the wall because it's also made of steel.
Now, do you ever read Junji Ito comics?
Of course.
You know what was it?
Uzumaki?
No, The Enigma of Amagar Fault?
Ah, yes.
That's exactly what this reminded me of.
This is their hole. It is made for them.
Yep.
The
We're gonna
secret of
find
Felix fault.
just stretched out and horrible on the other side.
Dur, dur, dur. Like the fucking ending where they're coming through. I love the fucking Enigma of Amigara Fall.
Oh, it's so good.
In fact, now I'm going to make an edit where this is my hole. It was made for me. It's going to be Felix crawling into that hole. Absolutely. It's happening. We just wait for it. We'll put it on the Twitter feed or something.
Yes.
So yeah, so then the mice who cannot chew through steel fucking chew through steel to make a Felix-shaped hole.
With no delay, too. And
no.
it takes like maybe a second.
I did do a freeze frame when one of the mizzards is eating it, and he actually looks pained. Or they, I don't know the gender. I don't know if it was the pink or whatever. But like, it kind of like has like furrowed brow. Like, this fucking sucks. I'm working so hard to chew through steel. Long story short, Felix starts going through these other rooms with other circus performers. The first one is there is a rhino lady sitting on a suspended rope in the middle of the room who has a bra. So the rhino has titties, but is Donald Duck in it.
Yep.
Like no underwear.
Has a skirt, or at least the band of a skirt, but then it's the world's shortest skirt at an inch and a half.
Yeah.
No panties, because her butt cheeks are what's keeping her on that rope.
Her butt cheeks are gripping the fucking rope.
As butt cheeks are wont to do.
As they do.
So she slides, because apparently now we're on a boat because we're swaying back.
You start like moving. Yeah. It's fucking weird. Yeah. It's so weird. So they run through a little bit, blah, blah. Finally, Felix makes it to Princess Oriana's room. And Felix is like, it's her. She's beautiful. He is so fucking horny.
That's why he's standing behind the footboard, because he's got a boner. He can't stand next to the bed.
They're trying to predate the Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 or whatever when he kisses the human woman, and everyone was like, this is way too much. Like, he wants the princess. The princess is really funny. She immediately get the fuck out of here.
I love every one of their first interactions where she's like, fuck you, don't mock me.
Yeah,
because the very first time she sees him, he's like, I'm going to save us. I got a plan. She's like, get the fuck out of here.
Get out, you fucking creep. I'm like,
you're tormenting me. You're playing games with me. Get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah, it rules. Like, she takes none of his shit. But then he's like, no, wait, I saw you in a tear. And she's like, oh, yeah, of course I made a magical sentient tear. You found it? I'm like, this fucking sucks. So she immediately stops giving a shit and tells Felix the background story about what happened and where, the Duke of Zill's villain origin story. So the first thing opens, she's like, our village was, or our kingdom was peaceful. Here's me and my dad, and her dad is just Peter Griffin with a beard. It is abso-fucking-lutely hey, Oriana. That's exactly, I have to find this. If you're watching along, you got to find this fucking booklet. There. That's fucking Peter Griffin. He's like, yeah, I'm the king. King of Oriana.
It's like Peter Griffin mixed with George Jetson.
Yeah, the nose is a little more George Jetson.
Profile.
Yeah. But he's got the beard there. He's got the testicle chin. I guarantee you he does. It's just hidden by the beard and that,
That's fair.
Yeah.
We can't get into George Jetson law. If you find out the ages of the Jetson family, it starts to get real weird.
There's also a picture of a jester who I guess is walking on his hands.
Okay, from my angle, I can barely see it. So I'm just like, what is this thing with many eyes?
Yeah, it looks also kind of like one of the weird frog people.
It looks like
the frog butt things.
From my angle, it looks like that one from All Real Monsters, the really tall, snaky looking one.
Crumb.
Yeah. No, not Crumb, holding the eyes.
Ickis?
The black and white one.
The
Oblina.
Yeah, the lady one.
I can't believe I remember all of the real monsters.
I'm very impressed.
So good.
Ickis, Crumb, and Oblina. Ickis. Anyway, I forget what her voice's name is, but she was a great voice actress. Anyway, okay. So yeah, she gives the world's fucking quickest exposition dump about what happened to this. So, and it turns out the Duke of Zill was just a guy with a goatee, and he's making cylinders with Grumpus.
Old Grumper.
With old Grumper.
Grumpus. Grumper.
Grumbo.
Grumbo.
With old Grumbo.
Oh,
I thought is Grumper is that a term for taking a shit on something? Am I thinking of Growler or is it Grumper?
It's both.
I've got to say it's probably
Volcano Los Dos.
But Grumper, you can't just be saying Grumper around people outside, right?
Yeah, I got a wicked Grumpa. Yeah, so we see Grumper now before his eyes got weird, but I guess he got blown up. Yep, he immediately gets blown up and he goes fucking awful animation.
He goes the teacher from Beavis and Butthead or Daria. Just that gym teacher. Ah!
Oh yeah, the war vet guy.
Yeah.
So then we cut to it when we see Zill as a professor, he's just is a skinny dude with a goatee and hair. Then the next thing you show, he's just this fucking yoked juggernaut.
Mysterio with a bandolier.
With a bandolier.
So it turns out if you get blown up from a cylinder,
if you get lightly blown up,
yeah,
he just fucking got on roids immediately. What a glow up!
Because it shows the aftermath from the explosion. He's fine. He's just on the ground.
He's just laying there.
Yeah, he still has a face.
And so she's so he started doing Diana Ball and Test Cycle.
Oh, geez.
And, and then the king gives Pearl a fucking medal for some reason. Then he fucking croaks. He sucks. Bye. Rest in piss. So now we're back, and now Zill has fucking made the cylinders and the cool disco cubes.
I love them.
And he just fucks the whole place up. So now, of course, Felix is absolutely smitten with this girl, but it's just more Wand of Gamelon ass animation. And now we have to learn that Zill is looking for the Book of Ultimate Power.
Yes.
This is our magic MacGuffin that they have to get to. If he finds that, everything's fucked. It's over. I like how there is an illustrated storybook in her cell about the history of the Duke of Zill. Like, she's captive. Why'd they give her this book? Why does A, this book exist? B, why is it
to know about?
Because he's the Duke. That's
I guess
our
he
history
made it and he's
book.
like, here's the mockery of how I fucking owned your kingdom.
Yeah.
You can read this. Yeah, nighty night kind
Remember
of
how
thing.
your dad died? Let
Yeah.
me put it in a book for you.
Lol. Yeah, exactly. In this particular thing, this is like Princess Oriana's like big moment where she gives this exposition dump. This is where I was like, I am not surprised to learn her voice actress does not have a Wikipedia page because it fucking stinks.
Oh, it's horrible.
Awful.
And it drags.
As this is over, this heart-wrenching story about the downfall of our kingdom, Felix is like, yeah, and this place doesn't even have hot dogs with sauerkraut. Like fucking men, am I right?
Felix is the worst.
This is not listen to women, you know? Listen to women. Listen to women, Felix. Okay? All right.
He would if they had hot dogs with sauerkraut.
To be fair, Felix is a man in 1989.
That is very true. So then a song starts playing, and I didn't get all the lines, but it says something more than friends. I was like, stop being horny. This fucking movie is too horny. At this point, Felix goes back and talks to Pym. Pym has had enough of being, you know, a fucking whipping boy for Wack Lazardi and for the Duke. So he's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I got you, Felix. This is where we get into the seating lore about what it takes to get a ticket to for Wack Lazardi's circus.
Yeah, well, do we ever find out how Poindexter and the professor get the masks? Because they just show up with masks on.
No, I assume they killed and skinned a local.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. You just show up with like creature masks.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're wearing the mask to get through the city. And then as soon as he gets up to the ticket booth, he's like, how do
just
I
takes
pay
it off.
to get in? And he fucking rips it off his face.
He literally is like,
Uncle, I got this.
and then just rips the fucking, like, this horror show where you're this ticket taker and someone is wearing your countryman's skin and then rips it off and is like,
Do please.
and hands you fucking wrenches. Yeah, they skip the scene where, like, you know, it's like this like dark alley in the fucking city, and you just see like the glint of like Poindexter's glasses as he like hunts and stalks his prey and just like shoves a fucking knife in their throat. Yeah, how did they do it? We don't know.
They just had him.
Yeah, fill it in, folks.
Yeah, throw it in. We've never been to this dimension before, but
Yeah.
my name's Poindexter.
If you kill a person in another dimension, does it really count?
I mean, it counts, but is it a crime?
In your dimension, though. Assuming you get back home, can you ever be
No,
held
there's-
accountable?
you have your dimension has no
That has-
jurisdiction.
yeah, I was about to say
It's
jurisdiction.
no subject matter jurisdiction. Exactly. Okay,
You
great.
should know this. You're a lawyer.
Yeah, I'm a
You
dimension
don't do
lawyer.
dimensional lawing?
I dabble, you know, it's usually, you know, when I'm in dimensional court. I'm usually in
dabble.
state court, but when I'm in dimensional court, it's different. So
How are you at bird law?
I'm decent.
Okay.
Yeah. We learned the seating lore about like there's aquatic seats for those who are amphibious.
Yes.
You can either give 12 flies, you can contribute to the war effort, or there's some other thing that isn't, I think it may be coins.
Yeah, I think you can just pay with also coins.
And then he just slaps on some fucking,
He's like, here's some tools.
here's 2 wrenches, and she's like, works for me. I guess that is the war effort to repair the
guess,
cylinders,
yeah.
maybe, you know?
And then instead of nicely escorting them into, they're like, trapdoor.
Yeah, they're like, boo. And there's this one, I like the little gag of the one little creature that's trying to get in, and she stops. She's like,
I only paid for one.
and she pulls him back. The ticket booth lady is a treat for like the little bit she's on. She's like, hurry it up. Like, I loved her customer service attitude. So they pull the lever. They get shooted into the circus, which I guess is subterranean. Who the fuck knows? And at this night, Felix is the opening act. All he did was fucking get on stilts and fall off them like a dipshit, and everyone fucking cheers. Like the fucking lowest expectations this audience has of a sensible hero. They want an encore, and like he goes back
It's like,
and
why?
yeah, Wack Lazardi's like, whatever you're doing, kid, great job. You know, he's like, yeah, and it's like he fucking looked like a dipshit out there.
They love it though.
The cat band. So now Felix is like, this is where they decide there's an actual plan.
yeah.
And so Felix goes to the cat band, and he's like, want to help me out here? They grunt, so they apparently cannot talk, but they can understand English. So
Well, they can wail. So
they do wail and they
do wail.
shred. And so now we cut to it's a double bill of Felix the Cat and Princess Oriana. Now this time she's really
She's flailing.
Literally like doing a wave, like with both hands, like spinning in a fucking circle in this bubble. This is the second most imprinted thing in this movie to me is like this wacky fucking shitty dance that she does. The song playing is way too horny. I think there's like saxophone music playing. It's like
Definitely.
soft
Yeah,
jazz.
doesn't he make himself a saxophone?
Yeah.
I think he does. Yes, he
Jam
plays.
along with
That's
it?
right. It's way too horny.
So he's like playing Careless Whisper. She's going at it.
And the bubble's like twisting. There's like colors.
Yeah.
So then as they try to escape, the Duke comes in and tries to like stop them from doing this. And at some point there is a line read from Princess Oriana. Oh, go ahead, Travis.
Oh, I was going to say what thwarted the Duke.
Oh, yeah, I got that too.
What thwarted the Duke
Is
was
sciatica?
simply his bad back. Because he goes to stand up and he goes, oh, fuck my back.
He has radiculopathy and sciatica.
He falls
Yeah.
down and he's got to get the cylinders to get like a person lift.
Yeah, don't they put him in
Hoist the back
traction?
up. Yeah, they put
Yeah.
he's got a built-in hook on his back because apparently his back is such dog shit. This happens all the time.
They crank him out. Yeah, they like give him suspension therapy. But at some point, I think someone tries to grab Felix's bag, and if I could find it, and I want to do this line read. I want to insert this. Please, God, help me. I have it written down verbatim. The princess goes, "Felix, your bag. Oh no, it's your bag. Yes. Oh." And this is one fucking read where it's like I think they're losing the bag, then it's caught, and she's like, "Felix, your bag. Oh no, it's your bag. Yes. Oh." It's
Awful.
fucking incredible. So yeah, then I say the Duke has sciatica, does suspension therapy. Everyone floats on bubbles out of the
Out of a saxophone.
out of Felix makes bubbles come out of a saxophone like the ones that are encasing Oriana. They all float out of. Now Oriana becomes part of a bag bubble.
yeah,
Yeah.
special bag bubble.
Because hers was going to get popped, so he makes a new bubble for her. While everyone else rises up except the Mizzards, they are presumably left to be killed. And they make it out there outside of the circus. It is Felix, Oriana, and Pym are the people here. Oriana just looks absolutely fucking spun and zooted at this point. Like her animation looks especially drunk. She's like her eyes are half open, animated the entire time. And they find these little mechanical horse motorcycles things.
Oh yeah, it was the Duke's first invention.
Yeah, his first mechanized mobile unit, I guess. But they're these weird little horsey things.
Yeah, they're like that. When you turn them on, the two front legs go, oh,
Yeah.
and then
They do
they're
kind of
just-
neigh, but they're like jet powered.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they find those. Now at this point, Felix starts talking and they animate his mouth in a way that I put Don Hertzfeldt ass animation. It looks like refused, like or rejected, like the Don Hertzfeldt. Like my spoon is too big. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like that old
my spoon
Joe.
No.
too big.
Joe has never seen it. Okay.
I'm vacant staring.
You know that, but it's like his mouth moves in a way that his mouth is not animated anywhere else in this movie, and it is just like a Don Hertzfeldt mouth animation. It's fucking weird. They just start booking it, and they just run into Poindexter and the professor,
Yeah.
apropos of nothing.
Who had stolen his bag?
Yeah, who had gotten the bag during the
Like,
fracas.
oh, I'm giving it back to you.
And Felix just like yoink fucking takes it from the professor, like owned immediately. You fucking stink, you old bitch. You don't get this. Yeah. So they try to our group from the circus reunites with the professor and Poindexter. I like how they're going like, we all made it except the Mizzards. And Oriana out of nowhere just goes like, they were more than whatever. She's like, they were great friends.
Yeah. It's the poor Mizzards.
But it's like, did you fucking know the Mizzards? Like more than the 1 second they busted into your room with Felix?
Hey, they were great friends.
I mean, I guess.
She was there a whole night before Felix got there.
Maybe they chewed
Yeah.
their way through.
In that 24 hours, they were like, oh, you know, and she's like, wow, weird. Anyway, that was funny. So they're escaping. Now the rave party comes after them, which is like the floating disco cubes and the cylinders.
So good.
They're trying to run. They reach this, like, it looks like kind of a pass, like a mountain pass. And this fucking dragon creature starts coming out. And I swear to God, kind of like buried in the mix, for some reason just goes, Stella, I could have been somebody. It's just quoting Marlon Brando from 2 different movies. from fucking On the Waterfront and fucking Streetcar Named Desire. Like, what? No explanation given. This thing never talks again. Just barks that shit out, and then they have to go, oh, we have to get out of a different way. So then they decide to send the horse machine back to the cylinders. Felix says, yeah, just like John Wayne used to do.
Well, because, in John Wayne movies, whenever they were going to go confront people, they'd slap the horses and send them off.
Oh,
so that the horses wouldn't get hurt.
Oh.
But
they make it a suicide horse.
But yeah, and this one's a suicide horse.
So they slap some fucking C4. This is, I think, where Poindexter says the thing.
Like, I can add to that hypothesis. It's like, what hypothesis?
What hypothesis?
What are you talking about?
Yeah. So he slaps some fucking C4 on the belly of this thing. It goes off screen, like, for half a second. It cuts to them shielding themselves from, I guess, an explosion. And then one cylinder just falls dead. Not a lot of them.
You know how hard it is to animate an explosion?
Yeah, they absolutely fucking were just like, nope, can't do that.
We already did one big explosion at the beginning. That's all you get.
It's like, wow, what an impressive off-screen battle
that depending on where this was being animated at the time, they're like, how insensitive. Do you know my city is currently getting bombed?
Yeah. The people that animate this have to walk over at least 5 minefields like every day to get back home. Like,
this is so sad.
World War II. Well, that's the realities of war, baby. So I also want to make a quick side note that the professor's voice is the most obvious guy who's like 32 trying to sound like an old guy.
Oh, yes, definitely.
He doesn't sound old at all. He sounds younger than Poindexter does.
I'm trying to sound, just...
It is Felix. Like, this is his voice.
Like, kind of a weird accent, like unplaceable.
Yeah, just nose pinch.
European, Anyway, so they make it out and they go into the swamplands. And here we fucking go. They get to the hair forest.
Oh, God, I hate the hair forest.
Where it's just, you see the rock formation of a face. I thought that was clever.
Yeah, kind of cool. And there's just little plants that are hairs that also have...
Why are the hairs so porous?
So what is the particular phobia?
Trypophobia.
Yeah, if you are trypophobic, skip this part.
So many clusters of pores.
Weird, because that's not what hairs look like.
No.
But they do in the hairlands. And they're like, oh, we need to watch out for the headhunters. Now, folks, when I came to picking this, I said there are 2 scenes that stick with me. One is Oriana dancing in a bubble and the fucking headhunters. And they just come out of fucking nowhere. There is no preparation. All of a sudden, it's just fucking heads start flying in. These like weird glowing yellow eye heads with like red hair / wings that are just
they're just like
air.
wings.
Yeah,
with eyes on them.
And they're like, it's the headhunters. So first off, one of them attacks Oriana.
And she's bleeding for a
second. She gets color for like one second.
One scene, she has a bloody shoulder.
Her arm is bleeding. They cut back. It's gone. She's cleaned up.
She's good.
Yeah, the ref stitched her up. And they resume the match, and it goes on. And then they go, the scene specifically is they go, it's the headhunter. And one head flies on this skeletal body. And it goes, ha, 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 ha. And then the head flies off and flies toward the screen. And when I was a 7-year-old little baby, I was like, I'm fucking out. Like I watched the rest of it, but that fucking stuck with me. In my head, this scene went on for like 1,000 hours because it's
so short.
It's like a minute.
Yeah.
So all these heads are flying around, fucking everybody up. But there is one that has like a Crocodile Dundee hat.
Well, because they steal Pim's hat.
Is that what it is? They steal Pim's hat, they throw it, and one seems to like the hat, and then all the other headhunters start going for the one with the hat, because it does say they hunt themselves. They always want heads, even their own. So then what do? They just find a bunch of fucking hats.
Problem solved.
It's in his bag, his magic bag.
So these hats just come out of a 4th dimensional fucking bag of holding ass pocket out of like Felix's magical bag, and they just toss them at the headhunters, and it's done.
Yeah, it's done.
The headhunters just love hats.
They get away.
They just want fashion. And it's like a minute. This has stuck with me for 30 years.
The trauma of your childhood was a minute solved by hats.
It's the shortest shit that happens in the entire movie. Everything else is drug out for like at least 5 minutes.
Even at super speed, it takes forever in some of these parts.
Not this, though. It's when can you fucking miss it with the headhunters? All right. So they're kind of like, that's it. And you think for a second they might have killed Pim, but then he just comes down the river.
Shows up on a boat later.
On a boat. He just found a boat.
Hey, by the way, I'm here.
Yeah, hey, what's up, guys? They get into a cave to go into the palace to kind of sneak in. I noted that banger soundtrack in the cave to the palace. I guess this is a good track. They come in, and if anyone has ever played Dark Souls, it's just the Duke's Archives because it's just like a palace with crystals everywhere for no fucking reason.
Oh yeah, when they finally get into the actual back into her things, there's just crystals sprouting.
When they
everywhere.
get into Oriana,
back into her office.
I just want that like that Dark Souls like like when the fucking title thing comes up for the area that you're in, just like that. Grumper is sitting there watching and making the cylinders do like a weird synchronized dance routine for absolutely no fucking reason.
Hey, he's Grumper. That's what he does.
Well, he's trying to maybe he's trying to get ungrumped, and he's just like watching these things fucking dance. They're just like spinning.
Maybe it brings him joy.
Yeah. And so then now this movie has been weird enough. The last bit of this movie just goes off the fucking rails in a lot of ways.
So in your notes, do you have the best line of the movie? There's a one-liner that I believe it's the Duke says.
Okay.
When he's talking to Felix about how I'm going to take you down.
No.
Where he goes, "You're the grass. I'm the lawnmower." I haven't seen any grass in this whole fucking movie.
There's no grass.
There's no lawnmowers.
Yeah.
But he goes, "You're the grass. I'm the lawnmower."
Before I even got to that, when the Duke shows up, he's in an ice cream cart.
Yeah. I
wrote it down.
I assume that's Ariana's, like, that's her little go-mobile.
I wrote it down. Poldoni's Royal Ices, Brooklyn's greatest.
So he got it from Whack.
This does not appear at any other point in the movie. No explanation given. He's riding a fucking like weird ice cream car.
Well, he couldn't walk there. We already knew he threw his back out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he has to get a ride.
So the cylinders had to
be
go
considerate.
source in.
He seems to be driving it. He just gets out. He's just standing in front of this Poldoni's Royal Ices. I looked it up. I cannot find that as an actual bit. I thought it was like maybe like an Easter egg for like.
Does
to
it
pop
actually
somebody.
say that on the card?
It says Poldoni's Royal Ices, Brooklyn's greatest.
Get the fuck out of here.
I will fucking
Wow.
Makes no sense.
I will find it for you now
Jesus.
because it owns.
I remember the cart and be like, what the hell was that? I did not
he
know they
pops up-
branded it.
I think by this point in the movie, I was just ignoring everything weird and just being like, I got to get through.
Okay,
There's
so we're
Duke.
watching the synchronized thing.
Yep.
We got the disco
All rise
light.
for the Duke.
Shut the fuck up. Wow.
It's like, and it has like the attached, like the thing they would vend it out for.
It's got the umbrella and everything on
yeah,
it.
and
it's a hot dog
Poldoni's-
cart.
Yeah, and it's Poldoni's Royal Ices, Brooklyn's finest.
The
Or
fuck?
Brooklyn's greatest. Sorry, Brooklyn's greatest.
And we try to research Paul Doney's.
I tried to look.
Okay.
I was like, what a fucking
I
Easter egg.
wonder if it's a writer or something.
Maybe.
They're like,
It must
my
have come
uncle's
through.
got an ice cream cart.
Hey,
It must have come through the Demens Porter.
there we go. Yeah, because we do know that other things have made it through. So then he's just like, seize them. And then I guess he gives them the lawnmower line. This is really weird where like the cylinders capture everybody and like Oriana's like fighting against it. And then the scene cuts and they're just walking.
Yeah, they're just calmly walking
They're
with
just
the
calmly
bots.
being escorted by the fucking cylinders. So this is obviously where all the fucking money ran out. The princess immediately just gives up and gives him the book of ultimate power, which she's like, oh yeah, here it is. Here you go. He fucking, there's like flashing lights. I put extremely Kanye West voice, flashing lights. Duke gets the book. He opens it and it just is like live, laugh, love.
No, yeah, it's truth, love, wisdom, and that's it.
That's it. He opens the
In
book.
this whole book.
This is all that it says. It's just word art that you'd find at like a fucking Airbnb.
I like how, it's got like digital signage on the inside of the book.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't bother to write it down. They're like, oh no, we're gonna make it fancy on the inside.
This was also around the time where like hologram art was like a big thing. So maybe I'm like, it's like a hologram.
Oh, geez.
So then the Duke all of a sudden is just like, you won't get me that way. He all of a sudden has arms full of like plans, like architectural roll up.
He went and got all his drawings
Yeah, where did he get those?
from the ice cream truck.
You know what? Fuck me. Fair point. So now we bring back Master Cylinder. And this is like, if you're an old Felix head, you're like, cool, we get him. And now Master Cylinder, it shows the old model of Master Cylinder who has like evil eyes. But this Master Cylinder looks more like a fucking like weird fucking Power Ranger villain, like a cool edgelord cylinder like the rest of them. But it's got like a big Z on its head, which I could also be like, was it Zed in Power Rangers? Speaking of
Lord Zed?
Yeah, Lord,
Lord
Zed.
Zed.
Yeah. So he's got that. So they activate the new Master Cylinder, and everyone who's like a real old diehard Felix fan is like, let's fucking go. It's the arch nemesis. And like Felix just immediately tosses a fucking book at him and breaks his ass.
Everything dies.
It's like a 2-second fucking deal. Now, we must watch this last little bit because everything explodes. It falls over on the Duke, kind of, but doesn't. He tumbles, hits the ground. You'll never beat me. It shows Master Cylinder melting, and then Duke just throws his arms out and goes, I'll be back, and disappears in sparkles. That's the conversation.
They poochied him.
They absolutely fucking poochied him. The Duke of Zil returned to his home planet, and he died on the way back. But like this is like the whole ultimate showdown lasts, I swear to God, 20 seconds.
Yeah, nothing happens.
if that.
They throw a book, he spins, everything dies.
And they have to tell you why the book. They're like, wait, what the fuck happened? They're like, oh, well, the book has gold bindings.
Yeah,
and it shorted it out.
Well, Travis, as I said at the beginning of this episode,
yes.
Poindexter so happily explains, and I quote, obviously the Master Cylinder's circuitry reacted adversely to the purity of the gold binding on the ancient book, therefore shorting out its system and all the Duke's cylinders and cubes, which derive their power from the Master Cylinder.
It makes perfect sense.
It's elementary, really, when you look at it.
So where did they derive their power before Master Cylinder?
From Master Cylinder.
He was chilling in the wings the whole time.
Yeah, he was waiting.
He was there. He was there before.
Yeah.
You do see Master Cylinder. You just don't know that.
Oh,
that's Master Cylinder.
I did see a random one with the red on
The
top.
Z.
Okay,
with the
yeah.
red Z, yeah. You just don't know that that's Master Cylinder. That's the big reveal. You know? So,
All
I
10
was here
seconds
the
of it.
whole time.
so yeah, I am losing my fucking mind at this point, and like making a remember about the
soon
gold
as they
binding. I'm like,
did
is this
that-
libertarianism?
As
Like
soon as
it's
they
like the
did the
gold
long
fringe on the
explanation,
flags.
I started dying.
Oh yeah.
Like, I had to rewind it 10 times.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was great.
With Poindexter?
Yeah.
Well, obviously it was this. It's like they just fucking. Yep, that's it.
It's like they sent it to a test audience, and the test audience was like, why the fuck did the book kill it?
Yeah, it killed by a book.
So like, oh, let's add a quick scene.
So we're wrapping it up. This is basically the end. There's really no fucking other thing. So they go back to where the Demens Porter is.
Yeah, and then the princess is like, you should really think about staying. And then after he puts all that effort into getting to her, he's just like,
Nah, I'm cool.
nah.
I got shit to do.
Well, he's trying to like nag a little bit to be like, maybe she'll really want me now. You know, he's like playing hard to get. No.
It doesn't work. She's like, okay.
Well, because at first she's like, well, our time's up. And I'm like, oh, she's just fucking like, peace out, you creepy little fucking cat freak, you know? But then she's like, well, we could use somebody. Like, she's like thinking about it, you know? She's like, well, maybe. What else? Grumper?
And then it turns out
Him?
Poindexter's a goddamn klepto.
Yeah.
He's got suitcases full of gold.
So they try to go in the Demens Porter. They
Oh,
can't
God,
go.
that
And it's
line.
like, oh, if you take gold, you can't go out. And they fucking dump Poindexter shit. He's like, robbed the fucking palace. There's like pounds of gold in his shit.
And then
it turns out the Mizzards, they lived.
That made me happy.
But the second time through, I think this is going to work. Because I think you can transport your gold. And Felix,
My gold?
What? Your heart.
My literal last note is, I don't have any gold. Dash. These are all caps, by the way. You have a heart of gold. Ha 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 ha. And that's the ending. And then we get the classic theme song we all love. Felix the cat, etc., etc. That's the fucking end.
While you have your little mocap at the bottom.
Yeah, and the little mocap Felix head is now bouncing along like, oh, didn't you have a great time? So that's that. That was Felix the Cat from 1988/1992.
So with that being said, I have to ask you, did it live up to your memories?
Yeah. I gotta say it did. Because I didn't do this as a way of like, this is a good movie.
No, it's just something
It
that
just stuck with me. And there was so much that I had forgotten about that like Wack Lizardi. Totally forgot about the character. Loved it.
he was a good character.
Really weird.
He was great.
I mean, it's not good, but it is what it is.
It's worth watching.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the kind of thing where, like, if you read the background of, like, this was supposed to start the new Felix boom, it's like, who the fuck thought this was gonna work? It rules. It held up. It's basically kind of what I remember. It's a fever dream. It makes no sense. It sucks in terms of the animation.
Well, you got to think about kids' cartoons back because you have wild cartoons like the most famous one, Fantasia.
Yeah.
It's dark as shit.
Yeah, but that's just like a sequence of songs, right?
Right. But now it's also the 80s where you have things like heavy metal, right? You have people going wild in cartoons where like,
Yeah.
they're just like, hey, we're gonna make a Felix cartoon, and people are like, who? What?
Yeah.
You're gonna do a what now? And they're like, yeah, we need dragons and creatures and
We outsourced it to Croatia.
Yeah, that's the thing, because if you think about it in context of what else was made around this time, 2 years before this was the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie,
Yeah.
which had great animation, great songs,
Yeah.
a plot.
Yeah.
And then we have this
I mean, this was the beginning of the Disney Renaissance. When did Little Mermaid come out? Was that 89?
sometime in the late
It
80s.
was late 80s. I know that. I don't know if it was out quite yet, but like you're entering
Well, that's
the,
why
the
all
Disney
the
Renaissance.
animators were working on that.
Right.
So they had to outsource this shit.
Sorry, we're conflicted out of working on Felix. Walt's got us locked up on this one. Yeah.
1989, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you had American Tail, you had Land Before Time. I mean, this is all of that same.
And then
kinda
Felix
era.
the
And
Cat,
then
the movie.
This fucking. Yeah.
Now, I got to
So-
say, as a first time watch who'd never even really heard of Felix the Cat, I enjoyed it. It was so strange. It made no sense. The animation was shit. It reminded me of this one I watched a lot when I was a kid called The Point.
Okay, never seen it.
The Point was this weird 60s stoner ass cartoon narrated by Ringo Starr and then Alan Thicke.
Okay.
And it's about this boy with a round head in a land of pointy headed people, and he's on a quest to find his point.
Okay.
But just weird, trippy scenes, animation that made no sense.
Right.
And the most meandering plot ever.
Awesome.
So it was perfect.
Can't wait to see it.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Hell yeah. Travis?
Again, we all know my favorite part was the cameo by Huey Lewis in the News.
I was going to guess the booby fish. I killed him.
The booby fish caught me off guard, and then as the things more and more had more boobs, I just thought it was a lot of boobs.
Yeah,
and then
the rhino boobs.
Then I was getting Brent's comments about how horny this movie was, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, in the group text, I was like,
Felix
this
trying
is
to
too
fuck
horny.
everything.
Yeah.
Waking up to all those was the funniest thing this morning.
I mean, am I wrong?
No.
No, not at all.
It's a horny-
it was
it's a surprisingly
it was
horny
definitely
movie.
not what I expected because I said, okay, Felix the Cat movie. It's going to be a movie for children,
Whimsical children's cartoon.
right? I certainly was not like when I think of villains, I don't think of cylinders and squares. Oh, sorry, cubes.
Yeah.
Get it right.
Like you have a land full of
respectful.
creatures,
Right.
You've had to make up all these different creatures,
And all of them look like monsters.
Yeah.
and the bad guy, it's a fucking rainbow cube. Bow.
Light. Yeah. You got it at Spencer's Gifts, you know?
Oh,
But no,
jeez.
I mean it was a fun watch. I will certainly be. I don't know if I'd watch it again all the way through, but I'm certainly going to clip that goddamn song,
Absolutely.
put it on my playlist.
Hell
'cause
yeah. At 1.5 speed.
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not- I
Anything
don't,
else
I don't
would be
need the Dune
uncivilized.
version of it. I need Huey.
Yeah.
All right.
Would you recommend this movie to anyone in the year of our Lord 2023?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
It is so weird that people should know it exists.
Yeah, you gotta at least take it once through because it is wacky and it is dog shit. And so if you want to of other things around at the time, you're like, oh yeah, this movie came out then. That's where all the good people were.
Right.
So now we found out this is what was being made in the back.
In the back recesses.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's just such an interesting thing on the fact that some shots are so well made.
Yeah.
And then some look like clip art.
It's the truly most frustrating part of it is like there are parts of this where I'm like, that's a really lovely little drawn scene.
Yeah, you can tell if they actually had their budget the whole time
Yeah.
and maybe stayed in one studio.
just shit
It could have been something.
Yeah. It could have been somebody.
It could have been somebody.
I think that's where we have to leave it with Felix the Cat
gotta
the
go.
movie. Let's go star ratings.
Bort?
I'm going to give it a gentleman's 3.
Oh.
That's nostalgia.
I'm pretty similar there. I gave it 2 3/4.
There we go.
I'll stick with 3 solely. I know it's supposed to be a musical, and my favorite part was the music. So
There we go.
It held up on that aspect of it.
I thought it was a weird, stupid delight.
I
and it
think
lived up.
I certainly think I don't know if children should watch it, but
for a variety of reasons.
yeah,
Yeah, I would keep it away from kids.
Yeah.
little too much. And I guess that's kind of the nature of these things where you have a cat that's trying to fuck a lady, and the lady's like, "Nah, dude,
Classic
we're good."
conundrum.
Yeah, right. I don't know about
Tale as old as time.
if promoting bestiality is a huge thing, but they did it with Beauty and the Beast, right?
All right. Belle was going to fuck the beast.
She was all down
Yeah.
for that troll bear.
Yep.
It was.
Yep. He was more of a bugbear, really.
Well, and I guess even Little Mermaid, he's trying to fuck that ladyfish.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But he doesn't know she's a ladyfish because
Well,
he only sees her with the legs.
Well,
He didn't care.
Here's the whatever. We'll get
Prince
to that.
Eric
So-
did not give a shit.
Yeah, he didn't care. He was like 17, right?
He'd been at sea a while.
How much of Disney is people trying to fuck mutant people? They're like beast animal people.
It doesn't more than you'd think, given Walt Disney's history. Hey. Anyway, all right.
So you can find us on Instagram at Video City Podcast.
I was going to say that was Video City. Joe, tell us where the people can find us.
And you can find us on Twitter at Video City Pod. And stay tuned because next time we'll be watching something else, and it has Mick Jagger. That's all I got.
Yay!
Next time on Video City.
You just watched your husband explode. A normal human, sorry, not husband, boyfriend.
Brother.
Brother. You watched your brother explode, brother.